So today I fancy doing something a little bit different. I went onto Pinterest and typed in house exterior ideas. Whatever came up first, that is the one I picked and recreated in The Sims. No scrolling, no choosing the really cute one, just pure luck. And then I did the same for the garden. The first idea that popped up, that's what we're landscaping. It actually turned into such a cozy speed build. Nothing too drastic, very cutesy. So grab a drink, get comfy, and let's see if Pinterest has good taste.
Okay, so as you can see, the inspiration to this build is on the right-hand side of the screen. I wanted to make sure I was being accurate as possible, so I was counting out the different blocks in the front of the house. Ended up it was a little bit too long, so I ended up moving it across as well, just because, as you can see, in the right-hand side of the picture, there's a little bit of a building sticking out. I also didn't know how far back to go, so it was all kind of guessing at this point in time, because obviously I hadn't seen the back of it yet. I added the roof. I tried to make it again as accurate as possible. I pulled it right across so I could cover it all. I then added another roof to the side, so that's that little building on the right. I then dragged the roof down, just obviously in the picture it's not as tall as the roof on the left. After that, I added the little roof to the front of the little entranceway, made sure to connect it to the back of the house. Again, I really didn't know the measurements and sizes at this point, so as you can see through this video, I will start adjusting everything bit by bit just to make it look as realistic as possible. I added the little curve, as you saw, to the roof at the front because it's not fully straight in the picture. I then added another roof in on the right to try and match the one in the picture, but I just thought to myself, it doesn't look right because it seems to have another room in the roof bit. So I ended up adding another room, brought it in a little bit, then I was like, no, again, I will change it. Added the roof on there, straightened up the roof because obviously I copied the little baby one at the front of the house, and I was like, no, it does come across again. So I moved it across and lifted up the roof just because, as you can see, it looked like the roofs kind of connected, so I wanted to make sure that kind of looked the same. I then pulled the roof out again at the back, pulled it in again to the right, just because, again, I didn't know how far out it was going to be, and it seemed a bit excessive to have all that space on the right. I added the stones to the front of the house just like it does in the picture. I painted the walls with Pure Expression, I believe, just a pure white. I then went in and did the terrain on the floor, so that here is where we obviously added the details in. I added the little the soil section to the front where the big tree is going to go. I also add soil by the front of the house where it lines underneath the windows. This section here, I added a little bit of a walkway to the back of the house. Again, I didn't know, so I was kind of guessing at this point in time and just filling it in the space while I was going along. I added these little tiny trees, so I shrunk down big trees into little trees to kind of mimic the little sticky up ones in the picture. I added shrubbery along the lines, so that there could kind of obviously give a guideline of where the plants were going to go. I added some long grass in there because I couldn't really find a bit of a shrub that kind of was similar to the one I saw in the picture. I did raise up the house because I realised I needed to have a step. Like, as you could see in the pictures, there's steps. However, when I did this, I realised I think I need to go up again because in the picture you can see a couple steps, and obviously in this one I only had one step. So I added the door in, I added a frameless frame from a CC mod, so I did that. I'll add them as well here so you can see that and give a little bit of a shout out to them. I added the arch windows in the front. I then added the chimney. So no, this is not the chimney. I did the little house, little sticky out room section. I did that by adding rooms. I think I just added a room and it was the same height. I then also added the roof, obviously, matched the walls to the rest of the house, added a little window in, and then we moved on to the little, what is it called? A flower pot arrangement, like a little shrubbery section on the front. So I raised it up with the Control 9 and 0 to raise it off the floor. Added a big window to the left hand side of the house. just because I wanted it to match, and at the back of the house. But then I ended up changing the one on the left to a bigger, more A-frame-like window, just because that was my preference. Obviously pulled out the back a little bit, added the wall in, and then we added our chimney. This is the chimney we're talking about. And I was like, oh, hang on a minute. The walls look stupid when I ended up doing the medium-sized walls, so I ended up putting to the short ones again. So I did that, slotted an actual chimney into the chimney breast, so it had that look on top. Added the grates to the roof section of the front of the building. I kind of pulled that bit in as well because I've realised it didn't need to be that long. I added a reef to that section on the door, added the little pots, there's lanterns on the side. I ended up putting a little bit of shrubbery underneath that window as well, as it does in the picture. I then added another grate on the top of the side, on the right hand side of the house. This is when we kind of focused on the back of the house. So this is our inspiration here of the garden. I tried to mimic exactly how it was. I added pipes to it, added a nice arch window in the back just to match the ones at the front. And again, the pipework all around the house. It kind of made it look a bit more realistic at this point in time. I also hate this door, by the way, at the back. I didn't like it, and I will change it eventually. I added some food placemats. I think they're from Cats and Dogs, as these little stepping stones as we go along. I added back the terrain on the floor because I realised I didn't want to put these everywhere to kind of have that effect in the picture. So I ended up just putting the terrain on the floor. Did the little bit of soil all in the different places where it needs to go. At this point, I'm being really delicate, as you can see. Added a bit more stepping stones in there and added more soil around to match the picture. At this point I was like, hang on, wait a minute, I need to raise the house up again, or raise it down. No, I needed to raise it down, but then it looked stupid at the front. So I ended up having a deck. Okay, I know the deck wasn't the plan, but I ended up adding it just because there was no smooth way of having an entrance into the house apart from having a big staircase, and I thought, not exactly what I want. So I ended up changing that and adding a deck, adding some stairs and having them white. I then added the stone effect to the back of the house as it does in the picture, but I then realised you can't have that section for some reason, just stone on one side and white on the other, so I ended up just doing it white, and it kind of looks better in my eyes. I added some white glass fencing around the deck, so there was a bit more, fluidity to the build. It wasn't so harsh. Added some shrubbery to kind of match the picture. I was doing the best I could, guys. Succulents, random succulents everywhere on this section. I was filling it out. I then added some kind of rose bushes to kind of bulk that section out again. I realised it needed a bit more texture, a bit of contrast, so I added these white I think they're daisies. I added them in there, and it kind of gave it the look I was kind of going for. It's not exactly like the picture, but it basically is. I realised that the stairs, they needed to be there because otherwise there was paving stones for no reason. So this is where I decided to Pinterest again and see what we could do with the rest of the garden space, because I wanted to make it as special as possible. So I wanted to make a cabana. I did this. I ended up choosing those brown spiky things, and I thought, that's not what we're going for here. I was changing the colours. I ended up just changing them and completely just going with the smooth effect and just a plain wooden effect, and it looked so much better. I removed the roof, which obviously would be the ceiling, and the flooring, pulled it out a little bit, and then we used these milk jug lanterns, which I just thought were so cute. I added some shrubbery to the top so I could match it best as I could to the pictures. I did this all along. At this point I then started to decorate the cabana. I added a bit of terrain on the floor to kind of match what we had going on through the whole build. Did some little lanterns in the corner, because obviously you can see that in the picture. Added it's not a desk. I added a bench with the rugs over the benches, and a little bin, a barbecue set. I did put a little bit of a teapot on top of the table, which was really cute. I had a little bread bin to the side of the barbecue, so that was cute. And a little basket with all the blankets and the pillows and whatever. I ended up needing to move the lot, which was annoying because I wanted to add a fence. So I did a big hedge around the outside of it. And I was like, oh, I'm going to actually have to move that again because I know I can move it backwards a bit. Did that, and then I had to do it all over again because it removed it. Anyway, easy fix. I did these really tall fences for a bit of privacy. However, I didn't really like those in the end, so I ended up matching the ones at the front that I'm doing right now. I end up changing the bit at the front as well in a minute to white. I did white, or like a cream colour, just so it kind of fits in with the house a little bit more. It wasn't so like a bit of an eyesore basically. Rearranged the little soil section, added a big plant, sized it up, so this was the tree. I changed the door, told you I didn't like the door, so I removed it and did a bigger one with more windows. And that is the final build. I think this is so cute, it's so livable, it's so fun, and I'm so happy with it.